Well, there's a new book out there that shares the fascinating stories of people who have contracted the coronavirus and beat it.
I love it. It's called COVID-19 Miracle Survivors. Crystal met some of these wonderful people.
Yes, I did. Well, so many stories, so little time. They're all so touching, and I think that you will agree. Take a look.
And even now, I don't know everything that was real and what was not.
They are stories of fear and strength.
That you have, that you have the skills and the knowledge to go in and save that person's life, but you cannot do that with being safe.
Extreme illness and ultimately triumph.
You're not going to beat me. I'm going to beat you. And I'm going to.
Stories told through the eyes of the people who live them. Stories found in COVID-19 Miracle Survivors, a book that was the brainchild of sisters Renee Stiegel and Rhonda Aycock.
I thought it was a great idea to do something to bring encouragement and hope in a really dark time.
Through Facebook, they reached out asking people to tell their stories, and the response was overwhelming.
The people that contacted us, their stories in the book are just tremendous.
One of them is Mark Campbell.
I initially told my story because I wanted people to know, look, if it can happen to me and I was this professional athlete, man, it could happen to anybody. My wife was driving me to go to the hospital and I was struggling to breathe. I mean, it was like gasping, like hard to breathe in and out, right? So at that point, I didn't have a choice but to go to the hospital.
He contracted the virus in March and spoke about his recovery at the White House in April.
Almost everything I do now is different, right? I don't have a mask on. I'm in my business office, right? So we only have half of our employees in here. We have to have teams in here, right? I don't have a mask on when I'm talking to you. The truth is, when I get off of this, I'm going to put a mask on in here.
People they're leaving reviews, but they're also messaging us on our Facebook page. And what we're hearing is, we had no idea it was so bad. We had no idea that young people, we interviewed the mother of a 7-year-old who had it. And then, of course, we interviewed Joe Esposito and his wife, Chris. And Joe's 96-year-old mother in a nursing home got it.
But Rose Esposito is one tough cookie, kicking COVID in less than a week.
We're not allowed to visit, so they called me up and they said, your mom has tested positive for corona. Now, this is like after just 2 or 3 days. And I told them, I want her on the chloroquine. I want her on the chloroquine. No, they didn't want to give it. It's not tested. I said, she's 96 years old. What have I got to lose? So I actually forced him to put it on it. And within a couple of days, it was gone.
Joe's wife, Christine, caught the virus and is still feeling the residual effects.
Just to get out of bed, to go into the bathroom or change the location, we had to take the oxygen. We had to take the oxygen. And I had to physically walk her like an invalid to wherever we had to go. And that lasted for over just about 2 weeks. But we put her on a Z-Pack, anti-nausea medicine, a lot of different meds.
After losing his job as the New York City OEM commissioner, Esposito had time to nurse Christine back to health.
God really, I think he got me fired.
No, he managed my emergency.
I love it.
I don't know how I would have been able to do both things if I was still at work. So God knows what he's doing.
Yeah, he was here for me.
When your wife says, I hope I make it to my birthday, if it was.
Renee Baker is a Lyft driver who credits Dr. Frank Gabrin with saving her life. He educated her with useful information that she was able to use once she got the virus.
I realize now that I probably had symptoms that I didn't recognize even the day before. And I had probably been sick for a week or so before I drove him, as he had probably been sick before he got in my car.
They talked about his book, Back from Burnout. She ordered it.
And there was his bright, shiny face, just like I remembered it on the glossy cover of the book. And there was his last name. I was like, oh, it's Frank Gabe. And I said, I think I'm going to look him up on Facebook. I think we're going to be friends because we had such a great talk. And I do that now and then. I just look up people I've met.
Yeah.
So I looked him up and I found this professional page and there was a couple of comments at the top that made me go, what? So I Googled him and I found out he was the first ER doctor in America to die.
And more than their stories, survivors have plenty of advice.
You've got to stay vigilant, especially if you're in those groups. You know, those groups, those vulnerable groups.
You know, it takes one time of not wearing your mask. It takes one time of not washing your hands. Just always keep doing the things that you're doing religiously.
You see people putting up signs and in their windows and on their lawns and banging pots and pans, and that's great. But there is a more tangible way that we can show our gratitude to our healthcare workers, and that is to take the utmost self-care of ourselves so that we can take care of those people around us and keep the numbers in the hospitals low.
I thought I was a very compassionate person before this, but when we sat and interviewed and heard these stories, we would cry. You know, if there were 2 people we were interviewing, one, all of us would sit on Zoom and we cried together from what they had been through, and we rejoiced over how they overcame.
Well, if you'd like to buy the book, you can do so on Amazon.com, and all of the proceeds are being donated to charity. Roseanne and Lori, back to you.
Beautiful.
And
Thank you.
I know the Espositos. They're a terrific family. I'm so happy that they're well.
Yeah, such a sweet couple.
Yeah. All right.
Thanks, Crystal.
Coming up on Good Day,